What's up, YouTube? My name is Jason, and this is my take. And I'm back, new videos this week. And to start, we're gonna review the new Lupe Fiasco album, Drill Music in Zion. Chicago rapper Lupe Fiasco has returned after 4 years with a new album. And I'll start by saying this. Lupe Fiasco is one of the greatest lyricists of all time. And there's no, in my opinion, after that, there's facts. The first two albums that he released were are classics. First being Food and Liquor, and the second being The Cool, which didn't make Rolling Stone's 200 greatest rap albums of all time. How? But on these first two albums, the way that Lupe goes about delivering these concepts and conveying these messages around Chicago, around just politics and things going on in the world has always been unique to me and never been, corny, preachy, or so basic. Although there were duds in his discography, like his mainstream attempt with Lasers or the sequel to Food and Liquor, he returned to form and returned with a bang in 2015 with Tetsuo and Youth, as well as his last album in 2018, Drogas Wave, where he uses water to convey messages of racism and slavery, and it was incredible. So now we have a new album, Drill Music in Zion, and once again, Lupe delivers yet another great conceptual project. Now, although this is 10 songs, this does run a little over 40 minutes, and there is a lot here. So much going on. I had to listen and look at these lyrics so much, and I probably still didn't catch everything. And what makes this even more impressive is the fact that Lupe wrote and recorded this entire album in 3 days. That's remarkable. And I don't even think it's a lie. Like, I believe him when he says it. Now on this album, we see Lupe diving into concepts like racism, capitalism, as well as violence, and more specifically in his hometown of Chicago. And that's sort of what the title is referring to here, as drill music originated in Chicago. And it seems like Lupe is making his own drill music on this album, even though he doesn't have that sound like Chief Keef or like, Dirk or G Herbo. The main point is to, discuss and paint the picture of what that violence and that culture looks like in Chicago, and using racism and capitalism to drive those points home even more. We got some stuff to unpack. We got lyrics to discuss, because this man the pen was sharp, like it always is. And so let's dive into it. We open this album with the track Lion's DEEN, which is actually featuring Ayesha Jaco, who is the only person on this song, as she is given a spoken word piece. From this, we get what the main concept and theme of this album is. Like I said before, drill music and Chicago being where it originated, and Lupe just painting the picture of what it's like, even though it's not what the drill music sound, it's still drill at its core. And I love the jazzy feel to this song, and that's a sound that we hear throughout this album. The song GHOTI is an interesting song that explores violence, capitalism, as well as politics. And this is like the first track we hear Lupe on, but he really sets the tone for the concepts and lyrics off the bat that's driving this point home. Thrones out on loan, they keep their rings in safes. You decide apple pie or the fries come with the snake. And the first part of that with the thrones is referring to politicians and how it's less about governing and really making change, and it's more about, acting out and initiatives being done based off of who's paying you, and, lobbyists and people who are supporting candidates. It's more about their agenda rather than, helping the greater good. And the second part of that is really interesting in talking about apple pie versus fries with the snake, as it's referencing Adam and Eve. And he's talking about capitalism in this and saying, choose the apple pie, the fries with the snake. And that apple being referencing the apple from the Garden of Eden, but he's separating the snake from it. And the fries is sort of referring to not fries, but like the root being fry, and how it's hot and you have to burn. So he's saying, bite the apple and end sin and bring about sin to the world, or burn to hell, and saying that when it comes to capitalism in America, like it's you don't win either way. You can play into capitalism and see the harsh effects, or you can do nothing, but you're still in a capitalist society. AUTOBOTO is an interesting track that explores incarceration, and Lupe is talking from the perspective of someone who is used to being in court and going to jail, and just how unfazed people can be when it comes to this. I love this line here where he says, "One deep meditate, one street separate, high to the Crips, goodbye to the Bloods, but it was the souls, lords, and GDs segregated by the street in the shy where I was." And, you know, in talking about incarceration and violence, he quickly talks about gang culture in Chicago, and talking about, you know, despite, you know, the war and the opposing, you know, gangs, it wasn't even them that created it. It was just segregation that created this divide in the first place. And this is sort of a theme when it comes to, you know, racism and specifically here talking about segregation. We get more of that throughout this album. Going back to being unfazed and jail and how it's not taken seriously. I love this line. I love the line where he says, "What's an infrared dot to a whole .gov?" That was really clever. We get another addition to the Mural series with Miss Mural. And if you haven't heard the first Mural on Tetsu on Youth, actually stop what you're doing and go listen to the song and experience why I said what I said at the beginning of this video. With the Mural in this track, it's taking the perspective of Lupe and his record label, or just the artist and the record label in general. Well, in this, an artist is trying to, you know, paint a portrait, but they keep scrapping the idea and throwing it out, going to another campus, scrapping it, throwing it out. And this is a symbol of how it is for artists in hip hop who, you know, paint this picture and tell their own personal stories, but yet it has to be approved by the label. They have to put it out, they have to sign off, despite how personal and how real it can be. And I love this line where Lupe says, "Professionally accept what I ethically hate. So in all of my work, you see this wrestling with fate." And basically just talking about, like, I love being signed and having this opportunity to make music, but at the same time, like, I hate it because of the politics and how the industry works. Also, the bright keys on this track were perfect. NAOMI is an interesting track that sees Lupe discussing Christianity, and more specifically, the bloody past, how people sort of don't talk about it or try to forget it when it's something that's very big in the history. And this jazz boom bap fusion on here was everything I needed, and I was here for it. The title track, Drill Music in Zion, was another interesting song here where Lupe once again discusses capitalism and racism. I love the example he used in capitalism and just talking about two, you know, everyday normal people. On the one hand, there's a woman who is looking to live the convent, like, celibate life. And then on the other side, you have a man who wants this woman, and because of the wealth and the money and the status that he has, he thinks that can get her despite that lifestyle that she's trying to live. And then you see this woman, you know, actually turn to modeling and going that route because of the money and what she can make. And her seeing that even though I want to do this lifestyle, is it gonna, you know, make me the money that I want to make? Lupe dives into some racism and talking about how it's not really police that are the real murderers. He talks about, you know, how white people sometimes can call the cops on us when we're, like, having a good time and just hanging around our people, and how it's them that are actually getting us killed. They're the ones that are initiating. And I really love the sax-led melody on this track, and I feel like with the slow drum loop, it gave Lupe a lot of space to dive into a lot on this track. The outro on FAUX was a very, very interesting way to close out the album. And it really showed, you know, emotionally where Lupe is when it comes to Chicago and drill music and that lifestyle. As he talks about wishing that, you know, these lyrics were fake, wishing that they were lies by these artists. Because despite how vivid and how real these stories are from these rappers when it comes to the life that they live, their upbringing, and just how dangerous and difficult it was, a lot of these artists are the same ones that actually end up dying due to that type of violence, despite being in better positions. You know, think about artists like King Von or Fredo Santana, for example. Now, there personally aren't any bad tracks on this album, but KIOSK is probably my least favorite. And I love the angle that Lupe takes when it comes to addressing capitalism and more specifically materialism on this track, as he's speaking from the perspective of a guy with the kiosk in the mall who sells jewelry, and how a lot of people go to those kiosks and spend so much money on jewelry, sometimes not even caring what the price is, but just wanting to have that. But at the same time, I feel like the production was very underwhelming compared to other tracks, and I just wanted a lot more from it. It felt a little empty. But beyond that, Lupe, in my opinion, came through with yet another amazing album. I really think that we need to truly start putting respect on Lupe's name. I know that, you know, he's not as mainstream, and a lot of times when we do hear him talking, he's coming at a lot of artists who didn't come from him. Like sometimes he does, he's extra, but when it comes to him as a lyricist and just the stories that he tells and the messages that he tries to get across, there are very few who do it like he does. And being 7-8 albums into it, to still be consistently putting out this quality of music, it's always amazed me. So honestly, I'm wondering what we'll dive into next. It's always a concept for Lupe. It's always something that he wants to convey. It's very intentional. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in the future, probably be 4 or 5 years from now, but I can wait. So I'm gonna give this album an 8.5 out of 10. What were you guys' thoughts on this new Lupe Fiasco album? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your favorite tracks? Let's have a discussion down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Got another video dropping tomorrow. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm Jason, this is my tape, and I'll see you next time.